Welcome to AHRC TV's weekly Roundup special. I am Josephina Bergström. June 26 marks the International Day in support of victims of torture. According to the United Nations definition of the meaning of this day, torture seeks to annihilate the victim's personality and denies the inherent dignity of the human being. The United Nations has condemned torture from the outset as one of the vilest acts perpetrated by human beings on their fellow human beings. Torture is a crime under international law. According to all relevant instruments, it is absolutely prohibited and cannot be justified under any circumstances. This prohibition forms part of customary international law, which means that it is binding on every member of the international community, regardless of whether a state has ratified international treaties in which torture is expressly prohibited. The systematic or widespread practice of torture constitutes a crime against humanity. And yet, as the AHRC and its partners around the region have reported over many years, torture is common and systemic in almost all Asian countries. Torture is used as a primary tool of crime investigation, for extortion, or to instill fear. It has devastating effects on societies where it is prevalent, and it negates the proper functioning of justice institutions. Here are some messages to the world from AHRC and its partners on this year's International Day in support of victims of torture.
On 26th June in Bangladesh and all over the world, the day will be observed as the International Day in support of the victims of torture. So, on behalf of the human rights defenders working in Bangladesh, I would like to urge the international community to take up a very strong stand in stopping torture in Bangladesh, because Bangladeshi people are suffering, Bangladeshi human rights defenders are suffering, Bangladeshi dissenting voices, the people who hold dissenting voices, are suffering because of torture. Many human rights defenders have been tortured in custody. So there should be a stop, and there must be a stop.
The torture that happens in our society and in our country is sometimes is extreme torture, where people are being disabled. Some people who are totally handicapped, and they are reduced to nothing. Because torture incapacitates the person and also takes away the dignity of the person. So therefore, we have to actually, as human persons who really respect the dignity, has to completely oppose the act of torture, not only by police but also in all the institutes where people are being detained and tortured, not only as getting out information, but also tortured to dehumanize them and to take away their dignity and to make them feel that they are nothing.
The 26th of June, it's an international day, but still I say that in Pakistan the issue of torture and the legal remedies for the torture victims are not available, and still the government of Pakistan has to realize that this is arbitrary detentions, the enforced disappearances and the custodial torture is like a cancer to the whole society of Pakistan. And apart from the fact that Pakistan has ratified the Convention Against Torture, but still there is no serious movement. I would see that the government has no concern and don't take it so serious. Like every year, this time also we, the members of Anti-Torture Alliance Pakistan in collaboration with Asian Human Rights Commission will mark the day, and we will be having some consultations, and where the experts will be speaking, where the torture victims themselves will narrate their stories and tell us about the heinous crimes against the humanity under the custody of the police and the other armed forces.
So June 26th is the International Day in support of torture victims. So we will say that this day should be used to bring some other sectors except from the normal human rights NGOs, the other groups of civil society, artists, intellectuals, like those people together, and to discuss with them the situation, because this is a right time. Now the people are all in Sri Lanka after the January 8th change. Now they are used to describe it as some sort of a revolution. I don't know whether it is a revolution or not, but they used to say the revolution. So there is a space now. There is many freedom of. Now we feel free. Most of the people now feel free. So this space should be used to discuss the main barrier to prevent torture, that is the judicial system.
Torture is a heinous crime that actually damages level of confidence and dignity of an individual, and we see a big problem in judiciary, particularly to prosecute the perpetrators who torture in detention, in custody. So let's join our hand and fight against this delay process and denied in just judicial process.
အဓိကလူသားချင်းချင်းတတ်တော်ရည်ချင်းညှဉ်းပန်းနှိပ်စက်တယ်ဆိုတာမရှိသင့်ဘူးဒီမိုကရေစီနိုင်ငံထူထောင်မယ်ဆိုရင်အဓိကလူအခွင့်အရေးနဲ့နိုင်ငံသားအခွင့်အရေးကိုကာကွယ်စောင့်ရှောက်တဲ့တရားစီရင်ရေးပဲဖြစ်တဲ့တယ်တရားစီရင်နဲ့တရားစွဲအဖွဲ့အစည်းဟာအပြစ်ရှိတဲ့လူတွေကိုအပြစ်ယူဖို့ညှဉ်းပန်းနှိပ်စက်ဖို့မစင်စားဘဲနဲ့ညှဉ်းပန်းနှိပ်စက်တယ်ဆိုတာခန္ဓာကိုယ်ဖြစ်စေစိတ်ပန်းကိုဆိုင်ရာကိုဖြစ်စေညှဉ်းပန်းနှိပ်စက်တာနဲ့အတူတူပဲအဲ့ဒါကိုမငြင်းဆဲဘဲနဲ့လူအခွင့်အရေးနဲ့နိုင်ငံသားအခွင့်အရေးကိုဘယ်လိုကာကွယ်စောင့်ရှောက်ပေးမလဲဒီပြစ်မှုကျူးလွန်တဲ့သူဟာလူအခွင့်အရေးနဲ့နိုင်ငံသားအခွင့်အရေးကိုကျူးလွန်တာလားကာကွယ်ပေးတာလားဆိုတာကိုကြည့်ပြီးတော့တရားစွဲအဖွဲ့အစည်းနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့တရားစီရင်ရေးအဖွဲ့အစည်းဟာအားလုံးလူခွင့်နဲ့နိုင်ငံသားအခွင့်အရေးပေါ်မှာကာကွယ်စောင့်ရှောက်မယ်ဆိုမှဖွဲ့စည်းပုံအခြေခံဥပဒေနဲ့အညီဆုံးဖြတ်နိုင်မှတရားမျှတမှာဖြစ်တဲ့အတွက်ဒီမိုကရေစီနိုင်ငံထူထောင်လို့ရမှာဖြစ်တဲ့အတွက်ညှဉ်းပန်းနှိပ်စက်တာတွေကိုမလုပ်သင့်တဲ့အကြောင်းကျွန်တော်ပြောကြားလိုပါတယ်
The Philippines has a vast problem with torture, especially during the Marcos period, and that was during the time of the Marcos dictatorship. And so torture was prevalent in the military, in the police, during the time of the dictatorship. But after the dictatorship dictatorial regime has ceased, there remains the kind of culture among military and police officials who still remain with the government. And fortunately, this type of this torture ways have been somehow been still there even after the dictatorship. And so there was a law that was passed by Philippine Congress, the Anti-Torture Act and the Enforced Disappearance Act. But you see, these laws were passed even after the dictatorship, just fairly recently. And these were because of, in reaction to extrajudicial killings and torture that were happening even after the Marcos dictatorship.
Saya adalah salah satu korban kasus pelanggaran HAM berat Abepura 7 Desember 2000. Saat itu saya disiksa dan dibawa ke kantor polisi Polresta Jayapura oleh polisi dan kami disiksa, lalu 3 orang meninggal dalam sel. situasi kondisi real yang terjadi di Papua hari ini, setiap kekerasan yang dilakukan oleh aparat negara, dalam hal ini kepolisian, yang melakukan penyiksaan terhadap warga di Papua hari ini belum pernah memproses hukum sehingga korban-korban itu bisa mendapatkan keadilan. Tapi ternyata sampai hari ini itu setiap penyiksaan yang dilakukan oleh polisi itu sampai sekarang tidak pernah diproses hukum. Untuk pesan kami untuk kasus-kasus penyiksaan, saya pikir itu polisi punya aturan. Polisi itu bekerja untuk melindungi dan mengayomi. Tetapi sampai hari ini di Papua hari ini situasi itu sedikit jauh beda dengan di wilayah Indonesia lain gitu. Jadi saya pikir untuk pendekatan yang dilakukan oleh aparat institusi TNI Polri hari ini harus bekerja sesuai dengan standar, sesuai aturan hukum yang berlaku.
Torture remains a serious problem in Indonesia, and up until now, the Indonesian Penal Code doesn't recognize torture as a crime. Many perpetrators mainly come from police institution, military, the other state apparatus. They are still enjoying impunity, and the victim remain, let's say, facing uncertainty. Many of the victims come from poor people. They are poor people from the lower class. So torture in Indonesia is part of fabricated or fabrication cases. It's occurred widely in Indonesia. And in many cases, police tend to use torture as easiest way to obtain confession from the suspect, from the witness even. So, in my point of view, torture must be stopped. The perpetrator must be brought to the court, must be prosecuted.
ടോർച്ചർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നീതി നിഷേധമാണ്. അത് ജനാധിപത്യത്തിൻ്റെ കടക്കൽ കത്തിവയ്ക്കുക തന്നെയാണ്. അതിന് നിയമനിർമ്മാണം ഒരു പരിഹാരമല്ല. അതിന് പരിഹാരം നിലനിൽക്കുന്ന അധികാര ദുർവിനിയോഗവും അഴിമതിയും ഇല്ലാതാക്കുക എന്നത് മാത്രമാണ്.
Those who discuss about theory of violence often neglect to consider how failures of justice institutions, meaning the police, prosecution and judiciary, contributes to violence. In our about 15 years of work against torture, AHRC has seen how torture is widespread in the policing in all Asian countries. It's a demonstration of primitive and a backward system of justice, which has failed to assimilate the modern concepts and practices of administration of justice. Therefore, this practice of torture is an indication of the state, the main institutions of state, how they contribute to societal violence. And I think elimination of torture is a primary condition of any struggle against violence.
That is all for this special weekly roundup on International Day in support of victims of torture. To find out more about torture in Asia, log on to www.humanrights.asia. You can also subscribe to Torture, Asian and Global Perspectives, a magazine that offers unflinching reflections on the practice of torture at www.torturemag.org. Thank you for watching and see you again next week.